Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music, and I'm recording this on February 15th. It's John Adams' 70th birthday. John is responsible for tons of terrific music, including Nixon in China, the opera, um, orchestral works, smaller ensemble pieces. One of his earliest works, China Gates, uses an approach which is useful for us, for anyone really, who uses arpeggiators in their DAW. Well, we'll take a look at Pigments 3.5. We'll look at a little bit of John's technique, just kind of like put it all together today. Listen to this. Here's Pigments playing a little arpeggiated pattern. Do you hear the change? Well, I want to talk a little bit about what makes that chord progression, and it's not really a chord progression, it's a modal modulation. Sounds so cool. Let's look at it on piano. We're going to say goodbye to Pigments for now. We'll be back in a moment. Follow along with me as I just play a little piano. I'm going to mute out my disco track. Two triads, an A triad, and a G sharp minor triad stacked on top of each other. If I put them together, I'd get what a theorist would call a Lydian mode. Look at this second triad. Again, two triads, A minor and G. A lot of the same notes, just spelled differently. If I put them together and looked at it vertically, I'd get an A natural minor mode. Basically, what I played for you the first time was an alternation between the two. So there's a kind of a wonderful piece of John's called China Gates. It was written in 1977, and it was written for a young pianist, Sarah Cahill, 17 years old at that time at San Francisco Conservatory of Music. And what John does in the piece is he sets up this sort of like perseverating pattern. This isn't the pattern that he uses in the piece, but you get the idea. And then in very specific ways, at specific times, he'll change to a new mode kind of within the same place. And the modes kind of like shift and alternate in really specific patterns. The gates that are referred to are almost like mathematical operations where you have a little bit of one mode and then you go to a little bit of the other. This whole thing is a kind of a very important kind of like concept in contemporary composing and minimalism, and it's also useful for us as synthesists. And I'll show you what I mean now as we go back into Pigments. Now, I'm just going to set this as a loop, and we'll just go pumpity pump, pump, pump. And we can look at Pigments as it runs. And here's it's exactly that thing that I showed you first, my chord stack. We'll just mute the drums and watch this as it rolls. So my simple stack of triads is getting played, and it's kind of an arpeggio pattern, isn't it? I'm using just kind of a favorite patch. Let's bring in the drums. And almost any arpeggiator will give you an interesting result if you feed it this kind of thing. Now, the gate in this case is just every two measures, isn't it? It's still sort of compelling. Let's try another patch with exactly the same settings. Okay. It's fascinating, isn't it? I love the sound of Pigments, and Arturia's got a really amazing synth here. It's got great sounding filters, and it's a wavetable synth with modulation sources for days. Almost every modulation source can be connected to almost any sort of parameter, and they can actually cross-modulate as well. Super cool. Well, maybe one more or two more. Here you've got a wavetable that's fixed in place, but the position of that wavetable could change the sound as it morphs. I could modulate this as well. So much fun, right? Maybe we should listen to another one. This is probably my favorite. You can hear how the delay is creating a lot of color here. Look at the envelopes and LFOs down here. They're quite fast, and they're really modulating the overall sound in an interesting way. Well, it's not a conventional chord progression, and yet by using the idea of modal gates, first one mode, and then on the same root, a different mode, we get a sense of alternation, don't we? And it's a really powerful way of creating sort of color and change in your music with a simple perseverating pulse. Perseverating is like something that perseveres, is something that lasts. And when you perseverate, like you're like just staying right on top of something. Imagine a tiger pacing in a cage. It's the energy that I feel from something like this. Well, I do like Pigments. It's a great synth, and of course there are other really terrific wavetable synths. So Alchemy and Logic is certainly one, but something like Serum is also powerful, and Vital, the sort of free synth, and there's a paid version or two, is a pretty powerful wavetable synth kind of for everybody. Well, there's lots of options for us. If you want to know more about this approach to modal transformation and using gates decisions to change it, we can talk more about it. But it's a complicated process, and we'll have to dive in greater detail sometime in the future. So like and subscribe and click the bell. You'll be notified when I put a new video out there. Meanwhile, I'll see you next time.